A neighbor keeps drilling holes into a shared fence so he can stare at my wife. TX. I share a wood fence in a new build community. We have a pool where my wife likes to sunbathe, in a swimsuit. A few months ago, we noticed a perfectly round hole in our fence, about 2 inches. We were certain it wasn't T there before but just guessed that it may have been a knot in the wood that had fallen out. My wife noticed our neighbor staring at her one day, so we decided to put up boards along our side of the fence. Before, the clean, finished side of the fence faced my neighbor and we had the side that had poles and support boards. When we added boards to our side, we had a clean side. A few days later, we found another hole in our side of the fence. It lined up almost exactly with the neighbor's hole, and my wife has caught him staring at her again through this hole. I ended up just replacing that one board, but he just drilled it again. When I confronted him about it, he got defensive and claimed he was birdwatching. I called him out on his bad excuse and said I thought it was inappropriate for him to stare at my wife like that. He said that I have no expectation of privacy in my backyard and can't control what he does on his property. I, unfortunately, have to agree that he can be a creep from his side of the yard, but I am wondering what my legal options are to get him to stop damaging my fence. I've replaced it 3 times now. The police won't even show up and say it's just a civil matter. At this point, it's primarily just a mild annoyance to go replace one board, but this is a ridiculous situation. Edit. Thanks for some good advice and thanks for some not so good advice. I've been told to take him to small claims, report to neighbors, WA, and to put up steel in the fence. Those all seem reasonable. I have, laughably, also been told to shoot him with a BB gun, spray him with hornet spray, and go outside naked. Drilling the hole is almost certainly a misdemeanor damage to property in any state. This might also be a crime under your state's invasion of privacy laws. ETA. Also, you totally have a reasonable expectation if property in your fenced-in backyard. You are not nearly alarmed enough about this. Your wife is unsafe on her own property. Your neighbor is a peeping Tom at best. That is the most generous description of his behavior and intent. Please get the police involved immediately. This will escalate and your wife will be hurt or worse. Do this now. NAL But Texas has peeping Tom laws in the books and a backyard with a fence would have an expectation of privacy. He is drilling in the fence, most birds fly, he can literally just look up, unless you have wild emus. His birdwatching story is ridiculous. He said that I have no expectation of privacy in my backyard. BS. If you have a tall-ish, wood privacy fence around your entire backyard, then you do have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Start billing him for the time and materials to fix your fence and consider a civil privacy action against him. That is creepy AF. If I was your wife, I wouldn't feel safe in my own home with a person like this next door. From a legal advice standpoint, I guess you could take him to small claims court for the cost of all these wooden boards you have to keep buying and replacing? Not sure if that would deter him from continuing, but maybe the judge would tell him he's a disgusting creep and to knock it off. I don't see anyone has recommended, but if you live in a new build community in TX, you probably have an WA. Have you gotten them involved? Even if they can't help, the rest of the neighborhood knowing about his creepiness will help in the long run. Stick a sheet of corrugated metal between the fences. Or put up a divider whenever your wife wants to sunbathe to block his view. What a vile human. I'd be seeing if this falls under any sort of stalking, harassment laws, along with the obvious property damage. Where is the property line? If your fence boards are inside your property, you should be able to sue for destruction of private property. The fence is exactly on the property line. It was installed by the developer who built both of our homes. I'm surprised the police are not doing more. I would look into your local laws on recording people. If the law allows, I would confront him, while he's doing it and film everything. Get footage of him committing the crime. The police may be in a better position to help that way. If not, you could always use it in small claim courts to get him to pay for all the times you have repaired your fence. Perhaps you could invest in some tall bushes or trees? Include that in your cost to small claims. He may be able to drill holes in your fence, but it will be much harder to cut down bushes. Especially if you leave the fence up so he can't reach the bushes without coming onto your property.